Alright, so we're going to begin our next unit on factoring. Factors are products of things. Okay, we know that the operation that deals with product is multiplication. So we're trying to work backwards and find what two things multiply to get our problem. So we need to think of some greatest common factors. What are the biggest numbers that can divide into each of our terms? So, for example, 4 and 6. The biggest number that goes into 4 is 2, so I'm going to put that on the outside. And since I'm multiplying, I'm going to notate that multiplication with some parentheses. I know 2 times 2 gets me 4, and I know 2 times 3 gets me 6. Okay. I can redistribute these and get those coefficients back. I then have variables. My variables also have greatest common factors. X squared is equal to x times x, and then we have one x value in our second term. Well, if I were to make a group of things, I could take 1x from this group and 1x from that group. So that 1x comes on the outside, and the x that's remaining stays on the inside of the house. So what we've done is we found two things, 2x times 2x plus 3, that if I were to redistribute and multiply this out, I would get my original quadratic expression. This can be solved again. For example, number 2 here. The biggest number that 6 and 9 have in common is 3. So I'm going to place 3 on the outside, open up my parentheses. 3 times 2 is 6, and times a negative 3 is negative 9. Well, then we can talk about our variables, x cubed and x squared. So we have x cubed, which is the same thing as x times x times x. We have x squared, which is x times x. So in x squared, I only have 2 x values to give. Well, there are 2 x values in x cubed that I could give up as well. So that'll become x squared, and I'll have that remaining x inside of my parentheses. So again, I found factors. I found 2 groups of things that multiply together to get my original product. So let's continue this idea with these next practice problems. I'll do one more, and then I'd like for you to pause the video and try the others. So between 16 and 8, we're looking for the greatest common factor, the absolute biggest number that can go into both, and that is 8. 8 times 2 gives me 16, and 8 times a negative 1 will get me that negative 8. But again, I can't forget about my variables, x squared and x. So I can have one group here and one group here. So that one group goes outside, and that one left over stays in the middle. Why don't you try these next 3 on your own so you feel confident going into more of your practice. Thank you for pausing the video. Here are those 3 answers to the practice problems. Again, we know these factors are correct because if I were to distribute or multiply these things together, I should receive my original question, that quadratic that my question started with. So now you may continue practicing factoring by GCF.